To pull up a memo on here. Okay. Yeah, she was not happy that I asked that. I told her no.
She couldn't hydrate all the M&Ms.
She was sitting there trying to pick out a big old chocolate smile.
Jake's gonna try to come
Like,
in.
yeah, no, that's not happening. And she was just like, wah! Cheers. I'm like, oh my gosh. How about we go play outside right now?
I did print that. No. Oh, these are all individuals?
They're all
Oh,
individuals.
I was gonna say, like, how long are we gonna be here?
Oh, yeah, no, that's just copies of the,
Okay,
of the deal.
So ever have one of these?
She does.
Yeah, he just
Sign
gave
in,
me
Cheryl.
one. So I'm like, I don't have to pull something up. I'm good.
I didn't get.
We didn't sign in for our thing either.
I'll sign you.
Is Megan coming? Mark.
But it was late, like everything today.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, Joy.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello, everybody. So, I left my budget here.
Oh, that's why you couldn't find
I
it.
had to reprint it.
Dang.
We didn't touch anything that
Yeah,
you
when I
left
got here,
there,
I pulled
John.
my chair and it was like coming out, so I pulled it extra hard and it whacked me right in the shin.
Oh, no.
I got the laugh.
Right.
I don't care if that's spicy, I just need something to. It's been so dry, all this dust flying around.
Well, the keeper, whoever it is that's doing the road, seems to be doing a relatively good job at watering.
I saw that. Sweepy's in the water truck.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet pea is?
She's here doing their water truck again.
I see her.
I thought I saw her.
Yep, that's her.
Glenn is doing fine.
Would you like some pizza, Jennifer?
I would love some, but I'm trying not to eat stuff like that. Doing my very best.
All right, well, you can pick the stuff off the top.
Well, so that's the thing. It's all of the whole thing this time around. I'm trying something different because the one I was doing before, I could eat that part.
Ah,
And then it started not making me feel good anymore. So I switched to a different program and now I'm doing better. I don't feel sick anymore, but it involves little to no cheese. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I love cheese. Man. It's like certain kinds of cheese that you can eat. I'm like, so, yeah. And I already had my cheat day and I already gained all my weight that I lost back. So I've got to be careful on those days too.
So you may be lactate intolerant.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm not that, but I love cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
It's one of my favorites. And quite to my daughter's dismay, her daughter really likes cottage cheese because I've been eating that. Grandma, I had some. Okay, give her a bite. She's like, mmm. Her mom's like, ew. Completely disgusted by that.
that was one thing on my do list until I was 40.
Really? Then you tried it again and decided you liked it?
No, I tried it, but I wouldn't try it before. Just like yogurts.
Yeah.
And Jello that had anything in it.
Oh, that's funny.
I had to have my
Separate.
separate.
Oh, that's so. Isn't that funny how you get like these like good things and you're just like no.
And Cool Whip and all that other stuff. I do that. And now what?
You love it. See, I'm like, how could you live your life without Cool Whip? I'm like,
Yeah, really.
I went to camp the other day and I bought everything to make a fruit salad with Cool Whip.
Uh-huh.
Cool Whip was sitting on my kitchen counter and I was very sad. Everybody's like, it still tastes good. I'm like, but it doesn't have Cool Whip in it. I was so sad about that. I was like, come on.
All right, well,
Just the two of us?
I don't know where, heard anything.
Sig and Gerald could both come.
They said they were both coming?
They both said that
Okay, so we're just,
Gerald's any day and today was a good day for Sig.
okay, perfect. So we just need to wait a few more minutes. Maybe they're just getting off for lunch, huh?
We'll go with what we got.
Okay.
Give it 2 more minutes. Yeah, when there was no equipment in here, Adam said, "Oh, I don't need to come." That was his thing.
Hi, John.
Hi, Anna.
You want some stuffing before I throw it away?
No.
I'm keeping the box.
Ah, cool.
I know. I feel like the older I get, I don't know if I want to keep the box or not. Now I'm keeping all these boxes.
Oh, this must be the, no, I just read about. I realized that was part of that.
So the message on top of that, Jennifer, was every time we do this, we talk about things that, oh, that should just be in our regular budget.
Yes,
And
and I agree with that, but I think at the time it was because we had that money and we
Right.
were just like, let's do it with this now and then we'll make it part of it. I think I remember
yeah,
vaguely recall that conversation.
so it's like, should we put some of these things in and then just, have that freed up
Right.
for city as it comes up? And it used to be that everything was in
In the
the
budget.
budget and anything, the NCDC thing just went to a city project.
Gotcha.
But somehow Stanley thought it was free money.
I mean, I get what he's saying, and I'm
Right.
glad that he took that route because I think a lot of very worthy causes would not be funded well. And so I'm glad he took that route because that's where some of the funding came for quite a few of our nonprofit organizations in our community. But
Yeah, well, we just need to add them in if we. If we're gonna support them year in and year out.
right,
It's kind of my thought.
yeah. Which packet had our latest budget in it?
The one from last meeting.
I think it's dated around,
Wasn't last meeting's
it
packet?
was like it was the last
Most
Saturday,
recent.
last
Yeah.
Friday
Yeah,
in,
because the ordinances were introduced.
in,
Okay, let me see which one this is.
28.
Doesn't have date on it.
25th.
yeah, I think it's the
Yeah,
date is
got it.
21, May
Right
21st.
one open then, okay. That's the one with the Norton Sound letter in it? Oh, yeah, perfect, page it open up. Okay, so I got the right one then. Okay.
Hi, Gerald.
Sorry, I'm late.
You want to grab a bite to eat before we start?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, we were just hanging, hoping that a couple more would be able to make it.
Gerald.
I know, Gerald, been waiting for you. Just kidding.
Right, and texted me and still be absent.
Oh, dang.
So did Daryl come to your house last night?
Yeah, he was desperate.
Yeah. 10:45, Gerald calls me and says, "Can you get into XYZ?" Daryl Williams left his phone in there.
Oh, no. Wanted to get that back, huh?
And his landline didn't work and or whatever. He had to call the cops.
Oh, shucks.
I know one called me.
What's that?
What's that? I'm glad no one called me.
I guess I didn't think of you.
Oh, darn.
Busy sleeping.
Next time you're gonna be something. Just kidding. Okay.
Oh, good old Daryl, he's definitely cleaned up his act over the years.
Sig will be here in a minute or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was under the impression that all the city council members had keys to the city.
Oh.
Oh, why would we?
Need to remedy that. No, I guess Stan let him in once. Yeah, probably did have keys.
Well,
Probably still does.
Probably, yeah. 34 years of council, he might have acquired a
the
few.
master key for this building, open that building.
It should.
And I don't know. I know the GM and the A1 are somewhat similar. Because the GM opens St. Joe's and so does A1.
Well, GM should open all of them, but there are some that didn't get coded properly.
Right.
Somebody was in St. Joe's, old St. Joe's over the weekend. Because I'm driving up and the doors are wide open. And, just drove in and, because even the door that you have to put
This,
the bolts
that's
in.
Right.
email.
Well, I'll be darned. Because I went in
Well, that goes
rented
kind of better when you
Monday
see that
morning
email.
and got a mic thing to take to the cemetery, but everything was secure at that point.
No, I just locked it up. Because I've been lowering the flag up and down with the holiday. I found out there's a way that I never knew this, that you have to, because we had the flag lowered till Friday, and there's no sunset here.
Mm-hmm.
So I left it lowered to half mast, and then at noon, you're supposed to raise it, lower it, and raise it vigorously back up.
Oh,
It's half staff, actually, not mast, unless you're on a boat.
all right. Well, I think we have who we're going to have. Adam was not able, and Doug was a maybe. So, Glenn, what do you think? We start with Nikki and her
Well, she's given you,
changes.
she's given you 3 pages of changes. That you all should have here, Nikki.
Do we need to go over the memos that were in the May 25th packet, or we were good with that and we're just going to move on?
Yeah, just the ones you put in, the new one, the June 1 motion changes.
Okay. So in the general fund, the proposed changes are a decrease of revenue of $318,056. This is adjusting the real property tax for 12 mills. A decrease of $42,750. This is adjusting personal tax for 12 mills. A decrease of $5,564, an adjustment to the port pilot for the 12 mills. A decrease of $48,004, again for the school pilot, an adjustment for the 12 mills. Then we are estimating a revenue surplus in F21 of at least $200,000. So that's an increase to transfers in. And then an increase of $426,419, which is an adjustment for the fund balance appropriation. So these changes increase the fund balance appropriation line item to $1,063,856 for a total revenue of $13,531,563. And those changes were a net increase of $260,000. On the expense side, we have an increase of $10,000 in the planning department for a planning consultant for the comprehensive plan.
Can I define that a little bit more? That's not for a planning consultant. That is, and I've missed this, Nikki. It's $10,000 to have mapping done so the comprehensive plan can get done, because we're getting to that point where we're going to start putting the comprehensive plan together. Sorry, Nikki.
Okay, and then it's an increase of 250,000 on the expense. I reduced the budget savings from 650,000 to 400,000 because we're finding that the ARPA funds are going to be more restrictive than CARES. So that's again a total expense of $13,531,563 for the total expense, and the net increase was 260,000. And those are the general fund changes that I know about right now.
Sorry, I don't think I even said hi, Sig.
Hi, Doc.
I've got a question on the transfers in assigned 21, FY 21 estimated revenue surplus. I've never seen that before. Do we have a separate fund where we put the surpluses?
Well, this is something when we were talking, this is what's called a carry forward. We are estimating we're going to have a surplus of $200,000, and we carry forward that into the next budget year, which shows a lesser amount of money being appropriated out of the general fund reserve.
But in actuality, the surplus goes into the fund balance, correct? And then we're taking the money back out of the fund balance to fund the budget.
Well, sooner or later, you may be looking at going to bonding, and the less that we are looking at taking out of the general fund balance, the happier the bonding agents will be.
But if we don't have an official fund, a restricted fund or
Well, this is
whatever
not a-
kind of
this is not a-
fund.
This is not a fund. This is saying, okay, Nikki and Glenn have looked at the budget. We've done an estimate through the final month of this year after all the POs have been taken care of. And we're looking, okay, we should have undoubtedly $200,000 left over to simply carry forward into the next budget year.
But that's not how accounting works.
How's it show up reflected on a financial statement?
It would be reflected in showing that you have carried forward this money in your budget, which would be reflected in your balance sheet. I mean, this is something that I have done this may be new here, but I've done this for almost 30 years in municipal government, showing a carry forward, especially when there is a gap between your revenue and your expenses. Our expenses are technically higher than our revenue. So we want to lessen from a bonding perspective. You want to show, okay, they have this. We want to, it's only going to be this much that they're going to pull out of their general fund if they do. Because as we start collapsing the expenses, in other words, you have historically budgeted at 100%. And then you historically show, I think the first year I was here, you were taking $1.9 million out of the general fund, which you ultimately did not do. And last year, we were going to take 1.3, but because of everything related to COVID, we had COVID revenue, CARES revenue coming in, and we cut expenses. We had a surplus at the end of 2020, which was $400 and some thousand. This year, we're going to have, frankly, because of CARES funding again, a surplus of 200,000. That will stop next year because the ARPA money is much more restrictive. Yes, we will take some of that benefit, but we're going to have to look at how can we control the other costs. What are things that we can do even right now in this budget year to lower expenses as we go forward? This is how you have budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say I fully agree with it. You also wanted to do an economic stimulus this year, which was reducing the mill rate. You also wanted to, and you can see how that flows through the budget. And you also wanted to do the sales tax holiday, which, some of that is actually going to be offset a little bit because sales tax revenue is coming in a little stronger than we originally thought, and we're seeing more collections, for the sales tax of items coming from outside the city into the city. So that's my, you guys can do what you want, but this is my recommendation that you show a carry forward.
What's the line item on the balance sheet? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know what Gerald's talking about. You have like maybe a deferred revenue line.
Well, I'm not a full accountant, but I will say that we are showing this revenue being carried forward.
Right.
And that's why you use the term carry forward. It's carrying forward a surplus. We're not encumbering it technically. We are carrying forward that revenue. Nikki, do you have anything else to add?
I did check in with the auditors because I know this is odd for us to do this way, and they suggested it be a part of the budget as a transfer in, and I can ask them some more questions on if we're actually going to make an entry or if this could just be something that disappears like the budget savings as fund balance hits, but I can ask them some more questions.
And sometimes when you do this in the typical situation, we're not looking at such a big shortfall because we're leaving revenues alone. When you're coming in, you're saying, okay, this is what our maximum revenues. We've made a decision as a community where you have to lower revenues $500,000 through a one-time, hopefully, incentive for the business community and for the residents. But, realistically, we can't continue to do this unless, yes, you have a fund balance, but a lot of that fund balance is also going towards saving you $20-some thousand a year in banking cost.
Right. So it says these changes adjust the fund balance appropriation to 1.06 million. And that number then does not include the 200,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I guess I could, the 200,000 being shown as a transfer in, to me, implies that it's coming from a separate designated fund and it's being transferred in, which means it needs to be transferred out into that fund to begin with. It just seems like we're playing games and the bonding company's going to be smarter than.
No, when they're going to want to look at how we're doing this, and it's easier, let Nikki, I know this is different. Let Nikki go and talk with the accountants.
I'm okay with that.
And typically they come back and say, yeah, he's right, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yes, does it show we're carrying it forward? Yes. And then they'll show that we are not, we're technically, because you want a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. Every year is to have a surplus.
Probably be an adjustment on the income statement, fund balance. Maybe as a carry forward to reduce the fund balance too. Take that carry forward out. I'm not familiar with it either, but.
So with our total revenues of 13.5, that 200,000 is 1.48%.
Mm-hmm. If the auditors sign off on it, I'm fine.
And what do bond packages, or what do bond companies see as a benefit for that? Does it like lower interest rates? Does it help us get more money? Like, I don't understand how that part fits in and why we would.
It comes down to your bond rating. Now, of course, we're going through with Alaska, but if they're going to come in and look at our particular, our portion of the bond, and we're going to have to explain how we've been doing our budgeting. We are going to have to show that Because as you all have indicated, there are years where you have funded large amounts of money and all of a sudden you didn't need anywhere near that amount of money or you had a surplus, just like the last 2 years. I don't know if that can continue. And they're going to look at financial stability. They're going to look at, okay, is the community growing its tax base? And do we have certain practices in place? And some of that is going to be, which we're going to have to come back and talk about because I'm not sure we have it here, is fund balance policy. Why is your fund balance at this amount? And what are you doing? Does it need to go up? Does it need to be adjusted? Is it in the budget, on an annual basis? That's why we're starting to work on the vehicle fund that you all suggested that we come up with so that we can show that we're managing our finances well, or at least we can prove that to a third party.
So I guess I remember the auditors talking about, just on the fund balance thing and how much of a fund balance, we should have
Right.
X percentage or X times our, if the revenue went away type of thing, how long could we survive with a catastrophe?
A hot minute.
Yeah, so.
Well, you have roughly 8 months, maybe 9 months. That's very good. Some small cities are arguing should be at 6 months, a larger community at 3 months because they have a more diverse revenue stream. That's also a very conservative policy. When I first came into this business, it was 12% of your total general fund. Now it is just, the number is just going straight up.
Okay.
Because even at 25%, that would put you somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3.5 million.
So these, budget adjustment, budget savings numbers don't end up getting changed at all with this?
I'm not sure I understand what your question is, John.
I guess it's, Glenn, on the increase of 250,000, I guess non-departmental. I guess is that 9901 or 9900? Is it one of those lines, Nikki?
It's the 9,900,
Okay.
the budget savings line item that's getting adjusted down to 400,000.
Oh, I see, the 650 to 400, okay.
Just so you know, the monies that we are getting from ARPA, we're going to get half our money this year and half our money next year. And we have not been given yet our Nome census district number because we're not a borough. But some of that money could go towards ventilation repairs or upgrades here and at the rec center. Which would save us money because we don't have to go into the bond market to, purchase it, which is a 20-year continuing debt.
Okay, so any other questions, I guess, on this memo? Can we move on to, I don't know which one, special revenue or?
Well, John, you brought up the special revenue in an email. you want to do that next?
Oh, I guess, we could do it. I guess I was just gonna cover just a couple of those because they were pretty straightforward, I thought.
Okay. Nikki?
I didn't quite hear you. You want me to go to the next memo?
Yes.
Special revenue.
Okay. This is another request for a motion that'll have to be made at the next meeting to change the special revenue fund as follows. A decrease of $335,906. This adjusts the ARPA revenue to $467,093.99. This is our first estimated payment that we're hoping to receive in the next 60 days. On the expense side, we're going to decrease $207,680 from salary and benefits, increase $46,773 for public health, and a decrease of $175,000, adjusting economic support to $75,000. This leaves the special revenue fund at a total expense of $1,091,744, a net decrease of $335,906.
Any questions on that one?
What's the economic support line item?
Well, the economic support line item could be the support, if you wish, to the Iditarod dog race and putting some money in there. It also could, we are in the ARPA money that has come down, there is a lot of money available for the local business through grants, whether it's through COERIC, monitoring those grants, or through the Nome Chamber of Commerce to take advantage of those grants. Or you could turn around and say you want to do advertising, for instance. We think that's available, or something to push some type of economic stimulus.
So Glenn, when you mentioned those other two, Cleric or Nome Chamber, would that be, is that a separate pot of money, or is that?
They have access to totally separate pots of money. In fact, those pots of money were significantly increased in this funding source because the idea was that the municipalities would be less involved in supporting local businesses. Now, it's like anything else. We're going to know what we can tap as we go through the year. But as I look at it, if I work 50 to 60 hours a week, and 10 of those hours are, let's say, related to COVID or the health situation, those 10 hours are paid. That deduction then comes out of my salary, so it's a salary savings for the city. But, those extra, it doesn't matter, I get paid for 40-hour weeks, but if I work 50 or 60 and I can offset some of that cost, and it saves the budget. It doesn't come to me, but it saves the city.
And that's what's been happening with the airport people, and
Right.
I think last year we had cops and some EMS things that.
We didn't have police as much as because we had the rolling of the members, but we always had EMS. Even when one of our EMS people are there now, they are not paid out of the city budget. That time is charged to ARPA right now. It can be charged to ARPA once we sign the agreement but right now we're also using money. As you may recall, we accepted a grant of $171,000 from Department of Health and Social Services, and that's paying anybody at the airport now, no matter they're working during the day, working the evening shift, or working the weekend shift. So it adds up where all of a sudden moves some money back into the budget. It's the same way with FEMA. normally we would get a reimbursement from FEMA for 80%. Now they're telling us we'll get 100%. So Nikki and Joy have worked on that. So and we're looking at all these monies while they're available to pull them into the city budget and maybe not have to borrow or take much money out of the fund balance appropriation. It's a really complicated dance at times.
We have a certain time frame we have to spend the ARPA funds?
The ARPA money, I'm thinking the date, it's either the end of 22 or the end of 23. We've got to, spend, I believe, all the CARES money. Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 9/30/2021 or is it December 30, 2021?
I still need to follow up with the DCRA on that. The one email they sent said September 30, but there was an additional one at 12/31, which those 3 months could be our look back period, but I need to confirm.
So when we talk about a phase 7, I mentioned to you the businesses that we should look at and follow something like the phase 6, which was very easy to calculate and push the money back out. John, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, we can go ahead. I guess I was just, it seems like, we were looking at 19 versus 21. And, we've got the information from sales tax. Not for everybody, but we certainly would for a lot. So, the city can just calculate, some.
Well, we can do that, but there's an underlying question. We have some people that were not in business in 2019. So do we look at, how do we look at 2020 versus 2021? That's, and that's why I put in there, because I wanted to discuss this. I've got 1 or 2 businesses that were not in business in 2019. They just weren't in business. There was no, they bought a business that was in business. They just weren't in business.
They didn't start until after the pandemic hit.
They started their business right as the pandemic hit in 2020. Remember, pandemic started in 2020.
That was March. Was that still in FY19?
No.
20. No, okay. Okay, I see what you're saying.
But we could go look at it and, we've just been more concentrated on this. Get this out of the way, get your approval, then we can pull back the other information.
And I guess it seemed like there were some not-for-profit maybe, or folks that
You did
provide most of their services to a tax-exempt organization.
No, what we were looking at is simply the hospitality type businesses, hotels, motels, B&Bs, coffee, bars, restaurants. We taking the composite of what you all had to make a decision back in November, December of 2020, shutting that industry down. We're recommending adding the hospitality industry too.
I guess what I was thinking of, we had a little discussion about the craft fair type of thing, and those folks. So I guess it's an open question whether, because those people wouldn't have sales tax.
Right. Maybe we could do another round of just a flat dollar amount of some sort to artists and carvers. Carvers are artists.
All right, well, let us work on that because we do want to expend that money without going over.
Okay, Nikki, can we move on then to the Port Ops Fund?
I just, before I move on, I just want to make one comment that this is what they're calling our non-entitlement unit payment in the ARPA fund. We are expecting some other funds as the Nome census area. We just don't know how much that's going to be yet. So I'd prefer to add that to the budget when we have an amount, maybe at the mid-year budget amendment.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Okay, so in the F-22 Port Operating Fund, a decrease of $5,564 is an adjustment to their fund balance appropriation. And this is for bringing the port pilot down to 12 mils. This makes their fund balance appropriation $260,047.52. Total revenue at $2,835,297, a net decrease of the $5,564. On the expense side, a decrease of $1,413 on the harbor portion of the port pilot for 12 mils, and a decrease of $4,151 on the industrial pad portion of the port pilot of 12 mils. Again, total expense is $2,835,297, a net decrease of $5,564.
Okay, thank you. I think that's self-explanatory. Okay, the other one then was the deal I sent out right before lunch as well, with the discussion on or the issue of what we have in our regular budget under non-departmental for programs that we support on a recurring basis. But we've done that through the NSABC funding in the past. You can see from the first page there that there are different organizations that already, have a account code already in the system. The Food Bank, the Sportsman's Association, Boys and Girls Club, for example. The only thing that we did have in here was $65,000 for the preschool and $25,000 for Iditarod.
30 for
and 30 for Nest. Okay, I missed that one.
No, that's, is that, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fireworks and LEPC not being, or falling under non-departmental as well. So we've got resolutions from what we've done for the last couple of years on that. We also do have the request from Iditarod to up the contribution this year in light of the, I guess, COVID interruptions that occurred, and also in consideration of the 50th anniversary and the intent to do additional activities and promotion around that. I guess the comments from some are that Nome doesn't really get anything from Iditarod. Iditarod gets something from Nome, and I guess I see it a little differently than that. That the amount of publicity that we derive just by virtue of being the end and everything that goes into that on an annual basis, that how do you value that in advertising? I don't know, but we used to operate the visitor center ourselves. We had $30,000 or $40,000, I think, was part of the budget just for ads that we took out to promote Nome. And so I see the association with the Iditarod as being a positive one, and I'm on their board, so to disclose that. But I guess I'm advocating again that the request for my Iditarod for this year only be included.
May I, actually, I support what the mayor would like to do. I think there is a value that we sometimes don't realize. By mentioning of Nome and the Iditarod, it does help for people that want to travel up to Nome to see where the Iditarod takes place. And in fact, we are looking at tagging ads that we have as saying 50 years, celebrating 50 years of Iditarod, March, Nome, March, right now I think it's 5th to the 17th. We're going to collapse those dates down a little bit because the 5th is when it starts. But I do think it's a marketing aspect that we can do, and we certainly should take full advantage of 50 years of celebrating 50 years of Iditarod and look at this as a once-a-time investment. We're being told the ARPA money would be allowable for that, and that's why we looked at 75,000 to match the 25,000 you have budgeted in your budget. Now, I will also say that we've also heard from Iron Dog that they would like support, and some years we've supported Iron Dog and some years we haven't. We obviously they avail themselves to our buildings. During Iron Dog, we literally move out of the DPW building to accommodate them, and they use some other facilities that we help them with to make the event successful as a partner. But we would need somebody who has far more skills and understanding of data to probably calculate out what Iditarod brings in. And we do know, or you all know, that when the Iditarod is here, it helps businesses get to the summer. That's what we heard repeatedly last year, or this year, and then last year when Iditarod was partially shut down in 2020. The impact that many felt. So, and if you want to add some other money in here, just put in a number. I mean, we're basically moving money around. It's what it essentially is. Either if we take the community benefit share for us, what I'm hearing is, okay, then we got to find some other way to offset this taking that community benefit share. Because you started, thinking 7 to 8 years ago, redistributing the community benefit share, because that used to come in to help offset pool cost. And, that then it morphed into helping community associations and special events for special, I don't want to say events, but the ability for our children to go out and see other things, whether it's trips to Washington, D.C., it's ski trips, it's competitive ski trips. And I know some of you have mentioned to me, this is where they desperately need the city's help. But I don't know how we rank them. So, but if you want to add some money in and we continue the split of the community benefit share, because the pool is going to be a $300,000 plus minimum plus expense to address the issues with the pool.
I guess just looking back through the things that we've done on a recurring basis, as Glenn said, there are a couple of years that we've missed out on the Iron Dog, but we've had a contribution to them. We have supported the Boys and Girls Club, it looks like. The Nome Winter Sports Association has been an annual recipient. And sometimes the LEPC, which this year we budgeted money in the budget
for them for, at least for their internet connectivity, since they cannot connect through our internet. And the mayor and Tom Baden, they're all waiting for GCI to be able to bring a line up to the public safety building.
Also, there's a lot that we have allocated to student activities at the high school.
Regarding Iditarod, which I'm fully supportive of Iditarod too. I know it's a big economic boost for, like you said, getting people past that March hump or whatever. But I've also had, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10. When that one Iditarod guy came and did his presentation, people contact me to say, don't use my tax dollar to give to the Iditarod. So, I mean, and there are people that normally aren't the normal ones that reach out, whatever. So it's just so one thing to consider if we do give them additional money is to pinpoint our designation of that money to advertise Nome. I mean, they do a lot of advertising.
And that's what they said when they came in and did the
Right.
presentation, is
And then,
they would do a lot of,
designate that, yeah, that we would like to, it'd be an economic boost to do more advertising to bring people to Nome. Not only for Iditarod, but year round, but we could we could specifically say we don't want this eaten up with your checkpoint in McGrath or whatever. We want it for
I
marketing
think,
campaign.
and I think that's a discussion that we can have with them. I mean, I think that when people see, I've heard the same comments, just
Yeah.
why are we giving taxpayer dollars? Well, we give taxpayers dollars to support the visitor center. This is part of your economic development. This is a one-time event where, the next major time will be the 75th or the 100th. Hopefully that will be there. But the 50th is a big event. It's just like when you celebrated the creation of the city of Nome in 2001. When you do this, when it's the 150th anniversary, you're going to put money in, and for some it's, and I do think, because remember, I have not seen a normal Iditarod since I've been here. I do remember, the passion, the joy when that first dog sled came in, even in 20, and people, were saying, please separate. Didn't matter. People were crowding around, watching this event, even as we were, people were really getting fearful of COVID and what did it mean. But there was a lot of celebration, but it ended up being muted. This year we didn't have it, not because it was Nome's problem, but other communities along the way did not want Iditarod to come through. Next year, that's not going to be a problem. And, I just think.
Of new cases with a new different strain. So how are we going to say that that's going to be the thing? I mean, it sounds like, to me, and I'm just going to speak on my own behalf, if Norton Sound is starting to throw out, oh, there's this new strain and here we go again. And so I'm not so sure that we're not going to be in the same position that we were in last year.
And I follow this issue fairly closely just because, the most recent issue we had here is because people did not follow the guidelines that they agreed to. And then we had a spike here. And I can't go in any more further than that. Before this, our cases were down to, 1 to 2. Then we all of a sudden had to spike up. I don't know, they said that, they found variants in here. Were those people vaccinated? because the vaccination seems to be working from everybody saying. Now, they might say you need to get a booster shot, but the vaccination seems to be working, whether it's the Pfizer, J&J, or Moderna. Our issue right now is on the vaccination is the number of people are slowing down. And some communities are incentivizing people to get vaccinated. I don't recommend offering $1 million like one state did, but I saw something I read something today offering a college scholarship because it's the young people that have slowed down in getting vaccinated. And maybe that would be an incentive to get even more. But, this is a discussion. I know what you're saying. I really believe this is going to happen on everything that I know and have read about COVID right now. I feel pretty comfortable, even though you're talking to a complete layman.
With that extra money coming into the chamber from the state visitor,
The 45,000.
I'm not sure how much it is, but I'm wondering if maybe the chamber might be able to help offset some of the marketing or donation to the Iditarod through some funding that they, in addition to the funding they would normally get, they're getting some outside funding. And that maybe that could be a way to offset some of the taxpayer money too. I mean, with the idea that we're trying to support Iditarod, but coming from different sources.
Well, and
Not all taxpayer money.
And I got to be careful how I phrase this, because ARPA is taxpayer money. But ARPA is also there to bring about economic stimulus.
Yeah, you said we could use ARPA funding, so how does that work?
Well, we have been given some direction, but I'm going to get it down on writing. I can tell you this one, on that we could use some of the ARPA as economic stimulus money, and this might be an allowable use, the 75,000. Right now, you technically only have budgeted $25,000 of taxpayer money. These monies that are coming in from ARPA are usually designed around health issues, prevention. If our ambulance department makes, for instance, a call and the person turns out has COVID, all that time, energy can be offset from ARPA. That's why record keeping is going to be really critical, because Nikki is yelling at everybody to make sure they keep records. Now, that's why they also said there's some money for the communities for economic stimulus. Now, we also, and I'm not getting into this discussion, if we had maintained our tax rate and we saw a reduction for whatever reason, especially in sales tax, the ARPA money could be used for that. We've taken that off the plate, and I'm not discussing that any further.
So economic stimulus, they consider advertising economic stimulus? Or do they define that? Is that just kind of like economic stimulus and you get to decide what that means? Or do they have like definitive guidelines? Because the state money or the first CARES funding that we got, they had 5 things that you could use it for. They were very specific. So this ARPA, do they have the same type of thing? That we can see and read?
We're still waiting for some guidance from the Treasury Department to come down. We get a little bit of guidance, and then we have a lot more questions. And we go back and they say, well, we'll wait for more guidance from the Treasury. Because with CARES money, it was actually in many ways easier to manage. You could offset any of your police department costs. You could offset any of your EMS cost. And then you could do programs to put money back into the community, which you did over $3 million. Because you did a stimulus check to everybody they signed a document that they were affected. Electric, businesses, you had 3 programs, at least in my memory, for businesses to put money back in that way. This money is a little more, we keep being told there are strings to it, and we better make sure we understand it before we spend it. Other than we know that any money that the administration spends towards COVID is eligible for reimbursement with ARPA, because it's a preventative program, what we're doing.
I'd like to see.
You're at 1 o'clock, by the way. I
Yeah,
know
we'll just take a couple more minutes. I'd like to see us include in the budget the following. 10,000 for Iditarod, 10,000 for Nome Winter Sports, 20,000 for Nome Community Center, and they decide which program it goes to, rather than spending, designating what it is, let them designate where they need it for grant matches.
Is this over and above the 30?
I'm sure you said Iditarod the Sportsman Association, and who was the last one?
Yes, I mean, that's not including Nest. Yeah. So Iron Dog 10, Nome Winter Sports, which is the hockey people, 10. Nome Community Center, their programs, 20,000.
Just give me money.
Checkpoint, 10,000. Nome Belt Sports or student activities and sports, 30,000. Pause, 5,000. Nome Eskimo Community Youth Activities, 15,000, and Nordic Ski, 5,000. That adds up to 100K.
Is that separate from what we just did with this?
Yeah, I mean, this is like moving forward for next year, the next year.
This is saying that when the NSAC money comes in.
We've already allocated
it will
money
go-
to the entities that typically ask for it, and we're just gonna use that money for something else.
Correct.
So I'm sorry, can you go, I got Iditarod, Sportsman Association.
Iron Dog, 10. Nome Winter Sports, 10. Nome Community Center, 20. Checkpoint, 10. Nome Belt Student Activities, 30. Pause, 5. Nome Eskimo Community Youth Activities, 15. And the Nordic Ski Program, 5. What's that?
Did you say Nome Winter Sports?
Yeah, Nome Winter Sports is 10.
That was
Oh, yeah,
10K.
yeah. Okay, sorry.
So, I mean, that was just kind of looking down these various lists from before.
I'm adding and I see 115.
Let's see, 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 85, 85, 90, 95, 105, I guess is what I got.
Once I got 115, I must have written something down wrong. You said Iditarod was 10.
No, Iditarod, that's the other one, separate.
Oh, separate, okay.
Yeah.
I got that one, part of that we were my 15 came from, so I got 105.
Yeah, so Iron Dog, 10. Nome Winter Sports, which is hockey, 10. Nome Community Center, 20. Checkpoint Youth Activities, 10. Nome Belt Student Activities, 30. Pause, 5. Nome Eskimo Youth Activities, 15. And Nome Nordic Ski, 5. Maybe I'm still adding wrong in your.
Oh, you're good. I got, it was the 10 for the Iditarod that through the, I got your 105 though. I'm there now, so I get you. Is there still a skiing association? They didn't come to us this last year, so that's why
They didn't, but yes, there still is. Keith Conger in that group.
They're actually under Nome Winter Sports also.
So we're giving them 2 times the money? I don't understand how that
Well,
works.
no Winter Sports is the hockey people primarily.
Right.
And the Nordic ski thing, I mean, whether they run it through the books of this other group maybe that's what happens, but, I mean, it's
That's
just,
the intention, is to give some to the ski program. instead of the
Okay.
slash-
yes.
So that Nome Winter Sports Association, I thought we were doing something to finish up that hockey rink. I thought we just dumped a bunch of money into their pot.
You transferred, some monies that you had that were unspent because by November 30th, monies. So we recommended you transfer that over, which increased their number to 84, which then, NSEDC were saying, you got to spend that money, which then you reallocated, and we're playing an accounting movement of money. So they still have their 84. We're still working to try to get their ice rink up. We're doing surveying right now. We're gonna have to do a fair amount of fill out at the site, just even for youth baseball. So we're trying to get those numbers right now so we can go and level it and then use that area for the ice rink.
Are we getting this fill off this road over here?
I don't know what type of fill that they need, that they're recommending.
That's a whole bunch of fill going over this way.
Well, they're gonna need two types of fill, as it's been explained to me.
Yeah.
One is a larger type of fill, and then they're gonna need a softer fill. So the kids don't, well, if you want to slide, which I question that, the wisdom of that up here. If you want to slide, you're not gonna tear yourself apart.
They're a hardy group of kids.
Yeah, I know. I saw a woman out yesterday with a tank top and short pants. I'm going, it's 47 degrees. That doesn't fly in most places.
It's all relative.
It's over 40 here, or between
Right?
40 and 70, everybody's naked,
If the
so.
sun is shining.
It's shining, it's gotta be warm.
Right. You haven't noticed, maybe when the ocean first opens up down there and the bonfire and the kids out swimming.
Look, I agree it's warm at 50 degrees
Right.
here. I mean, I feel that myself, don't misunderstand.
Right.
But it was a little interesting because,
It's kind of hard to explain that to somebody though.
Yeah,
It's really
like
hot up
my
here.
daughter in
Oh,
Tampa.
yeah, what is it, 52?
So to Jennifer's question, that money that we were dealt with physical of the building, or of the rink on it. This is money that would be used for their operations up there. Whether it be buying snacks, oil for the deal, some honorariums or whatever to people to man the rink and that type of stuff.
And that money was former NSCDC money that was allocated specifically to move the rink,
Right.
which they've been working on for a long time.
Yeah, and then I see that the rec center has asked for money a few times, and I didn't see you suggest that they get any money for their after-school program. Is that something?
That's just a regular budget thing in my.
Well, they've got it through here though, that's what I'm asking, are we?
well, did they get it through here or did a group get the money and then spend it?
No, it's,
'Cause
I'm just looking at what you handed me.
what page are you?
Rec center upgrades, I saw rec center, so rec center upgrades, the year 19, and then there was
On the wish list thing, Chip had
rec center.
put in a deal, rec after school program.
Yeah.
And that was, Clark put that together just to offset, it was offsetting wages. And
So that was just a request, but it wasn't,
It was not funded.
okay, so that's. And no Eskimo, if I remember right, that one year, they wanted some kind of money for transportation. It had nothing to do with kids programs.
Yes, that was when.
Just this last year was the kids programs one, but before that, it was something about some buses or some kind
They
of
were having a
transportation.
shortfall in monies that they were getting from the Federal Transportation Administration to operate a bus service, because I do remember that.
Yeah, so it wasn't all kid stuff, so that's another one I'd be not sad to see it go down to 10 to keep it our 100,000. Because I don't know what their plan is for funding. They get lots of funding from other places that we can't get it from, so I'm surprised they can't get it for their youth activities.
Yeah, I think they can, but there, again, are various fundings that they, apply for that, it's helpful, even if it's a small amount, to show that somebody else is assisting with it. Yeah. So, I guess, for 15,000 to support whatever their programs, we get much more back to support ours.
And they do a really good job with their youth program. It seems like they have a lot of opportunities for kids. I think that's a good thing.
And they are working with us on drainage issues for the east side of town, which in many places are pretty bad.
Yeah, I scraped the bottom of my car trying to go through the drainage ditch between that, I don't know what road it was on, but I was trying to come out of there and the whole bottom of my car just scraped out. I was like, oh.
Okay, so these will,
Deep drainage ditch dug there across this, like right across the street, so you have to drive through it.
so this 105,000 will be incorporated into the budget that we'll see on Monday or 2 weeks from now.
That's his suggestion.
Yeah, that's my suggestion, that we add those in.
Well, I mean, as opposed to making an amendment at the meeting.
You will have to make
You
an
have to make
Okay,
an
we
amendment.
already
That's gonna all need to be.
Any of these must be made, any changes that you see must be through an amendment.
Because we already
Through that
did
whole
first.
process.
And that's why these are all, as Nikki put them on here, request for motions to amend already.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we,
Right.
so this will just be another request. for motion.
These items can just go on that same list or a separate one. But I guess it's these items to add as a recurring deal, and then for this year, only figure out how we get the other 75 for Iditarod.
Do we have to put it in the budget or can we do it separately?
It's an unknown thing, right? The Iditarod contribution, if
It's still in there.
We have the 25,000 already here, if that's what I'm reading right on what page is it?
Correct.
148.
Correct.
So that's the 25,000 is the suggested of the $100,000 that they want. That was one of my questions I had tagged.
Yeah, that was the initial thing put in.
So is this any CDC, the 10,000 plus the 25 in our
No,
budget?
there's no, that's Iron Dog. John misspoke the first time when
Okay,
he
okay.
said I did a rod.
Oh,
He meant to say Iron
Yeah,
Dog,
Iron Dog.
okay?
Oh, okay, I see. I did that wrong. Okay, so,
You heard him right, and then you corrected
Yeah.
him.
okay, so the LEPC had originally had 15,000 in our last thing, and now we're only gonna give them 3,000. So they spent all the rest of that money that they got, and they only need internet now?
They spent most of it, and then it was swept back into the NSCDC funds.
Right.
And the only thing that we can see that they're gonna be spending money on is $3,000 for connectivity.
They made it sound like they needed all this stuff too. So did they get that stuff with their money?
Yes, they have gotten a lot of stuff.
Okay, well, I'm just making sure that we're not like gonna be shortchanging that program since they
I mean,
no longer get their funding from the state is what I remember reading from the email chain that we received. So,
I mean, you know, if they are having problems, we will probably, come with an amendment. Right now, this is what we are estimating their cost is. We feel $3,000 is good. They meet on a quarterly basis. The question is if they get into a lot of tabletop exercises.
and that's where the additional funding they may need.
Well, they're spending it on lunches and, making sure that people are coming during their lunch hour typically, that they can, feed them.
Things like this.
I didn't want to go that way.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's,
Because he's throwing it all out there, so let's throw it all out there, like,
no, it's,
really.
I mean, it's,
I mean, if there's something that we need to know, let's get.
Well, I mean, look,
it's not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing, but I guess I'm not into buying certain things that they may, I would recommend that they not buy. Let's put it that way, And, I've been having that conversation with them. They know the money is there at 3,000. They know that's gonna, cover their cost for that. I mean, just so you know, in years past, they were allocated X amount of dollars and then they had a tough time spending it. So then it was, okay, we'll spend part of the money towards the heating of the public safety building, or how much internet.
Is that where their office is at, is in the public safety building?
Well, they don't technically have an office. They don't even have a checking account. They work through our checking account.
Which it sounds like they don't like.
Well, then they,
I gotta go.
Organization of the city.
I gotta go.
If anybody has any
Doesn't sound like we're
thoughts
doing anything
or,
substantive right now.
Oh, well, just wait till you see your email.
yeah.
I don't think so, just wait till you see your email.
anybody,
Was there anything else? I mean,
anybody is welcome to, if you want to see me after hours or something like that, you know, we're here.
How about that?
I didn't hear that, but we'll talk afterwards.
All right, thank you, Joy, thank you, Nikki. We're gonna call it quits for today. Appreciate your time.
Have yourselves a wonderful day.
Thanks. Yeah, sun's coming out, that's nice.
Actually felt warmer today in the clouds than it did yesterday.
We're supposed to have rain, I think, was it
Yesterday, yeah.
tomorrow or
I
Friday?
had to take the attorney last night to drive over. The water truck. I got
Yeah,
out.
well, it's cold this morning.
I was like, jump back in the car real fast. I was freezing. I don't know if we're still online, so I'm not trying to talk too loud, but
Feel the same
Really?
way. By the way, I hope you noticed we got the picture back up off the floor, thanks to David.
nice.
So,
I just,